I promise you that if you elect me and put me on that wall, I will never lay down my rifle and I will never go to sleep on it. I promise you that. The fight begins right here and right now in our homes. We look at America and at what's happening. We go to Washington, and we should go to Washington, and we should fight. But don't let them come in the back door on us. Because once they're in, and once these ordinances get passed, getting them undone is almost impossible. And you need to realize that. And that's where the other side is trying to push their agendas, and they have found out that they're meeting less resistance when they start coming through local government. Because a lot of people don't pay no attention to their local government. When we vote on our budget, who in here would know what type of operating budget your county council has right now? And we televise all of our meetings. We live stream them on the web. But you know, there's very few people that know. You've got 2,000 people employed with just Horry County. The school system has got more than us. We have about $120 million operating budget besides our fire fund. We've got over a $500 million capital improvements plan. We've got about 70%, 75% of our bonding capacity tied up in bonds with Wall Street right now. You need to think about this. This is your money. This is your home, Horry County. And you need somebody who's going to be on that wall to watch for you. And you know, not just kick this can on down the road. Don't assume that just because I'm a slow talker and I'm from the South and I might have been born at night, but it weren't last night.
All right.
And you know, to those of you who you know didn't have the good fortune of being born here, but you're here now, you came to your senses and you came to God's country. This is your home too. Because when you look at that American flag, you count the stars on it. And there's 50 of them. And it doesn't matter how many of us in here or where you're from, every one of us has a star on that flag. Every one of us do. It's our country. All the way from Prestwick, all the way to Pennsylvania Avenue. This is our country. And in order, if we can keep our own house in order first, then we can go down the street and help our neighbor get their house in order. And that's why it's extremely important. This race will be fast. It'll be furious. No pun intended. Fast and furious. How about that, Dick? Some of you like that? Fast and furious?
Yeah, but we know where your guns are.
Yeah. This will be fast and furious. The primary is March the 12th. You've got to burn that in your brains, your neighbor's brains, your family, your children, your dog, your cat, your goldfish. March 12th. Special election. There'll only be one seat available. Horry County Council Chairman. And as we all know, that is the day of the Republican primary. And here in Horry County, we're about a 65, 68% block Republican voting county. So it's about a 99.9999% chance that whoever wins that Republican nominee on March the 12th will be the next chairman. And I'm confident enough to tell you that you're looking at him right now.
All right.
That may sound a little bit arrogant.
No.
But the Bible says faith without works is dead. And Jesus said if thou would believe in thy heart, and just had the faith even as a grain of mustard seed. Believe in thy heart and shall not doubt, and speak to that mountain, be thou pluckest up and cast into the sea, and shall not doubt. He said, in my name it shall be done. And I'm believing that. I'm believing it's time for God's people to quit being silent.
Amen.
Just like the late Dr. Jerry Falwell said, he said, if the silent majority remains silent, there will come a day to where there will be no more.
That's right.
And it's time for us to be heard. And you can be heard because there's one thing about it. You may not own a large ranch. Some of you might say, where Johnny? Johnny boy? You may not think that that you're on the same level as others in this country, but there's one time to where when you're equal with everybody. It doesn't matter who you are, where you come from, if you're tall, short, if you got money, if you don't got money, if you got a nice car, whatever. When you walk in that voting booth, everybody's even. Everybody's even. And that's a right that our forefathers fought and shed their blood to give us. And let us not forget that. Let us never forget those men and women who have sacrificed so that we might have the opportunity to stand here and do just what we're doing today. Because it's not the politician, it's not the businessman, and with all due respect, it's not even the preacher or the pastor that gave us that right. First of all, God Himself, through His grace, gave us that, and through the American soldier, we have that right. We have that right. Let us not forget them and what they have done and those who are serving us now. And also, at the same time, when we expect them to go abroad and protect us, you see, they took an oath to protect this country against all enemies, foreign and domestic. We need to be the soldiers here at home fighting the domestic enemies. And how do we do that? What we're doing right here today. We take it to them. And the fight begins right here, right now. And we're not going to take it. We're not going to let the good old boys continue to drive this bus because they got it off course. We need to get it on course and keep it on course. And a house is built not from the top down. Where did John go to and stuff? He's the house expert. It is not big. There's John. From the top down, but what? The foundation up. And your foundation starts in your local communities, in your home.
All politics is local.
There you go. That's right. Now, again, thank y'all all so much for coming. I thank Miss Donna, John, for hosting this. Does anybody have a question for me? So if you need an answer to something.
Where do I get one of your campaign buttons?
Right here. Right here, Bill.
Been wanting one of these for a long time.
Right there. We got more coming. Right
Can you
here.
talk a little bit about your vision for Horry County and where you'd like to take Horry County?
Yes, ma'am, Karen. Very, very good question. At Horry County, we have got some good staff. We've got some good senior staff. Council's job is to set the budget and set the policy. It is not council's job to conduct the day-to-day operations of Horry County. That's what we pay our senior staff to do. We've got a real good administrator here, and I believe we've got the best opportunity that Horry County has ever had, because our current administrator, Chris Eldridge, is a young man from Georgetown. Do you know he was hired with zero political pressure? I was amazed, because I have been on council 6 years, and every time we've gone through this administrative hiring, you would not believe the phone calls and the dinner invites and the talking and the pressure that gets put on your councilman. And the same thing happens in up to the school board when they go to hire a school superintendent. But with him, it was zero pressure. He's a good man, a young man, educated at Appalachian State, got his master's degree from Clemson. He's a good old Southern boy. And he's very, very sharp, very, very energetic. Along with him and our current senior staff also, we have a brand new fire chief, Fred Crosby, that came from a fire department about half the size of ours. You've got one of the largest fire rescue departments in the whole state of South Carolina. You know that we've got 39 fire stations spread out through this county. That's not counting the cities. These are only county stations. You got 39 of them. We've got over 300 firemen full-time. But we need our volunteers too, because we're such a large, diverse county. This man came from a department that was half our size, but he had 1,000 volunteers. He's a people person, and he's doing well. We have a police chief, and as some of y'all know, we went through a lot of issues with our county police. I knew a lot of that firsthand. I worked for the sheriff's office for years. I helped train a lot of the officers in this county. I knew the problems. We finally we finally got to a point where we made a leadership change there. We've got Sandra Rhodes in there. I worked with her years ago on the street. She was the buy person and I was on the chase team. Sandra's a good person. She's a well-educated person. She works hard. And you know, she's a people person. And I mean, she has taken our county police, that whole working attitude has you know, done a 180-degree turn. It's amazing. She's doing a great job. But with all these new people fresh in these key leadership positions, I'll tell you this. We're going to have a good chairman to keep them motivated so they can keep their people motivated. We don't need a chairman coming in there and calling them in and calling in special favors and stuff for their buddies. We don't need that. We need to keep the bureaucracy and the politics off of them so they can do their job. And then if they mess up, and if it starts to get bad, and if I start to hear complaints, then I'll pull them in and I'll talk with them. But you know, we have got to support our county folks. Now, I want to see more transparency. Everybody says that, you know, more transparency. I would love to see us go to zero-based budgeting. A lot of staff don't like that because it's real hard to transition into that the first year. But if you go to that zero-based budgeting, then you know every year they have to request and ask for line items. You don't just hand them a lump of money and you know they decided where and how they want to spend it. We were holding 67 positions open in the county. We've been holding them open for 3 years. We tried to get our council to, you know, every budget year to cut them out, Some of our senior staff was saying, well, so we're really not funding them, we're doing it. But what was happening was, they were still including the funding for those 67 positions, and it was being approved and put in the budget and doled out, and you know, that was their cushion. You know what Chris Eldridge did the first month that he was on the job as administrator? He killed him. He scratched him off the list. And that money went back into the general fund. So now you see, when we get our budget done this year, we don't have to fund those 67 positions. We have an administrator that did what council wouldn't do because staff kept the pressure on them. So you see, we are at the crossroads now. We can either go back and circle around and do business as we've been doing it, or we can go down the straight and narrow where we should be going. I want to see something done. How many folks are a small business person or owner or partner in here? So if you got a business of some sort. Wouldn't it be wonderful if there was an ordinance in place where every time the county had to bid out something, be it from paper cups to road paving and everything in between, that there was an ordinance in place to where they had to allow that local vendor who bid on it, even if someone from out of state underbid them, there would be a percentage there to where if they were close enough, that job would be offered to them because they are established here and their employees are here and they keep their money here. 26 other counties in the state of South Carolina has that. Horry County does. But when I take the chairman's seat on May 1st after the April 30th general election, I've already got it drafted up. I've got a doctor from Coastal Carolina University, and I've worked with him, and he's got us a perfect ordinance for that. I'm going to put it on the agenda. And I'm going to invite all the small businessmen to come in and sit before their council, and I'm going to say, all right, council, these are your constituents. These are the people who support you and pay their taxes here. Now tell them you don't want them to have the bids from the county here. That's the only way you can get the message across to some politicians. You got to confront them head on. That's another part of my vision. Another part is coming up with the Employee Bill of Rights. I know that South Carolina is a right to work state, but in the same perspective, I think that our good employees should be rewarded for their good work. You shouldn't just have an across the board pay increase. You should reward those through step increases that do a good job and earn it. And then that encourages good people to stay here. Okay? And by us having a simple employee bill of rights, we've got some department heads that have threatened to fire their employees if they talk to their county council. Well, they're taxpayers too, and they're citizens too. We've got to cut that out. And through a simple employee bill of rights, employees will know that they can come and talk to their elected representatives without getting reprimanded from their supervisor. So you see, we've got a lot of plans in place, and I could talk on and on stuff, and I don't want to bore y'all. But folks, thank you so much. First of all, I desire your prayers. Because again, this is going to be a fast race. We don't have the money that some of the rest of them have. But you know, the rest of them don't have the people we have either. We've got some good people helping us. God sent. I would ask you to pray for us and push that March 12th. And if you're not going to be in town, go buy an absentee vote. Get your votes in there, because it's probably going to be a low turnout, because we just came through a bad election, a national one, and people are discouraged and disheartened. We've got to pick ourselves up and dust ourselves off and press on, folks. And the battle's right here. It's right here. The Bible says where there is no vision, that the people perish. I got a vision. Horry County's my home. Yes, sir.
Very shortly, Jim and I and a few other people are going to be going door to door. You talked about your philosophy, your issues, your positions on certain things. Is there something you could give me that I could, I can't spend the time that you spent with us. I need something to give to this person and say, look, here's why you need to vote for him. A lot of these people that we're going to be talking to, they're transit, they don't know anybody. They don't know you, they don't even know the guy's in, so why are you different than him? So I'm asking you for some help here. How do I, if it's just like, well, he's for this, and you're for this. Here's the position, here's what you want to do. You haven't heard what he wants to do. But it's something that I can give to the people. At least when I'm done talking to them, they can take it back in and say, well, let me see what this guy said. Other than that, he's just going to say, well, oh, here's this guy, he came in, he's talking about Al Allen. Well, I don't know that much about Al Allen, okay? So if you want me to do this, I need your help.
I would help somebody make a flyer of a report card. Because if you recall, when the Republican organization, I don't know how many were involved, when they were going against Obama, they sent out one sheet, and it was a report card. And it had 4 or 5 very important points, the way he votes and the way the Republicans voted. And as I mentioned to your wife, that would really be a good angle for you against the different candidates. Pick 3 or 4 things that there's been a stark difference. All you need, or we can, and I'll be more than happy to help you put it out, is to have that and hand that out right there. You see the difference.
That's right and stuff. And we would have to take the time and sit down and go through that to show you the contract. One thing is, 7 years ago before I came on council, a lot of people have forgotten this, but Liz Gillen, who is also running for the seat, she was chairman then, and Mark Lazarus was serving on the council then. The council had a $12 million surplus. $12 million that year. When I came on council, January of 2007, you couldn't find $1 of it. Where'd it go? It should have been rolled back to the people.
That should be given.
Talk about ethics fines. You know what you've heard, go online and look it up. Jesus said, know them that labor among you. And yes, you need to know Al Allen. First of all, and so you can tell that Al's better looking than all the rest of them. Huh? He's got an easier name to remember. Okay. Al's a veteran. Honorably discharged veteran from the Air Force. Al Allen's a South Carolina native. Born and raised here. Family's here. Raised his family here. Al's a God-fearing man. He believes in morals. He has integrity. He doesn't have any skeletons in his closet. I will tell you this, the last council race that we won, last general election, 2 years, I was right in the middle of the Ainter overpass and stuff. And y'all remember that? That big... The other side hired a private investigator and followed my wife and my children to Charleston and followed me. And I got a phone call. Now this sounds like, you know, some sort of a clandestine type thing, but it happened, folks. And the man said, Al, this is such and such, I need to meet you, are you out at the airport? And I, sure. And he came out there and stuff to where the hangar's at, and stuff to where we have our business. And he sat down and pulled out a brown envelope and pulled out pictures of my wife and children in Charleston and me and stuff around the county. He said, I was hired by some of your opposition. He said, I'm bound by contract. I can't say who it was. But he said their interest was the Aner overpass. And they have an appointment, or had an appointment at 9 o'clock on that Wednesday morning after the Tuesday election with the highway commissioner to carry your opponent up there and put a halt to the issuing of the work order on the Aner overpass, because they wanted to go on their side of town where they had the land and had the money. Originally, this thing was slated for $46 million. We completed it, built it, we're driving on it for $18 million. The rest of the money's been shifted over here to the beach for the back gate. That's being a good steward. They had plans and said to build them a new shopping center and et cetera, and, you know, rape the citizens of Horry County of their tax money. Folks, that's wrong. I had a state representative. And so watch Dick now. So if I see his mind back there. He said, I had a state representative to tell me this himself, that they wanted that money turned over to the town to where they could spend it how they choose because they needed a new town hall. I said, you can't do that, because that's misappropriation of public funds, and people go to prison for that, and Al Allen's not going to have a part in it. So the only other way that they could do it was to beat Al Allen and get him out of office and get another councilman in there. Liz Gillen called a special meeting of Horry County Council, the only special meeting that's ever been called pertaining to the Aner overpass. And if you'll go back and if you'll review the minutes from that meeting, Councilman Howard Worley spoke out before the engineers even presented their plan, or spoke to us and said, well, I don't want anything to come up and embarrass this council. We need to put a halt to it right now. I punched my button. I spoke in and I said, Councilman, if you want to talk about things that embarrass this council, I can open up a can of worms. I said, I can assure you that this is one project that will not embarrass this council. And it's the first project that was finished under Ride 2, a major project, the very first one. It was completed with no hitches, did not touch one home or one business, and it came in $26 million under budget. What more can you ask for? That's the way government's supposed to work. So, there's a talking point. Another talking point. And it's like the animal shelter. How many of you are animal owners here? You have a pet that's part of your family. We are too. And some of you will remember back just after I came on council, about 5 years ago, 6 years ago, we had that awful situation at the Horry County Animal Shelter, where all those dogs were put down, 100 and some, and stuff because of the disease outbreak. Well, nobody knew, but I had 2 moles inside out there, and they were feeding me information. And I started an independent investigation as a councilman. I got a file that thick on it at home. And what was happening is an organization was being paid to manage that animal shelter that didn't even exist until 3 months before no bid contract was awarded them. And the county gave them over all the new buildings, the trucks, the vans, and paid them $535,000 annually with no receipts and no accountability. And they could keep all the donations. I was threatened by one of my opponents that is back up and running now, and I still got it on tape at home. Called me and told me to leave it alone. If I knew what was good for me, I better leave it alone. I got it on tape. I still got it.
They want to talk about, I think some of them, some voices I've heard just this morning, they want to talk about that bypass deal. I don't know what.
I welcome it. I
I
welcome
don't know what
it.
they wanna say about it, but they wanna try to use something about that against you.
Well, that bypass was already voted on by the people. If y'all remember, Ride 2 was voted on at the polls at the same time that I won this office. So you know the people voted for that list of roads and projects. It was handed to me with no instructions, no location or nothing. And the good old boys left it that way because they had a special place they wanted to put it and they didn't want nobody else to know about it. But it backfired on them. Their man didn't win. I'm working on a book and it's called Small Town Big Shots, Politics in the South. And I'm going to name names in it too. It's going to be a bestseller. Any other questions? Folks, I have talked enough and I'm sorry. I don't mean to hold you up on this beautiful day, but
I live in Carolina Forest.
Carolina Forest, we need your help out there.
We are unincorporated.
Mm-hmm.
I hope it stays that way.
I understand.
But I want to know what's the plan for International Boulevard?
International Drive, you and General Vault. How many of you saw the council meeting the other night, so to where General Vault, so John was there? Yeah. You know, somebody asked me, and such, just after I came on council, said, who is that little old short man that comes up there and barks at y'all and hollers all the time and stuff? Who does he think he is? I said, that man's a 3-star general that has fought and represented this country. He slept in a cave with Osama bin Laden during the war between Russia and Afghanistan for 2 weeks, training them on how to use the Stinger shoulder-fired missiles. The man has got an interesting history. And I said, that man has earned the right to come up and bark at us anytime he wants to.
You ever see his medals?
Yeah.
I know him personally.
Yes, sir.
And I mean, it's like the pictures he's gotten.
He's an amazing individual. He has a history. Go online and look him up. He has his own Wikipedia page. General Vault, man, I mean, he's a tough old cop.
Yeah, I mean, you want to talk about Horry,
we get back to that.
Right, so I don't want to bird walk. International Drive. That is actually on the Ride 2 paving list. And
At the bottom.
yes, ma'am, at the bottom.
Keeps going to the bottom.
No, it's there and so it's working its way down. You can't add anything else to that list, to the Ride 2 list. It's set in stone. We will have the money by all projections to do that job. What has happened is that road goes through and such abuse, wildlife. DNR, our state agency, has fought us tooth and nail.
Oh, for the
The
bear.
Army Corps of
Bridge.
Engineers, $2 million bear crossing, 2 of them.
A bear isn't going to know where to cross. He's going to cross 10 feet down the road.
General Vault said, where's the bear going to cross? Any blank space he wants to cross at. Why spend $4 million on 2 bear crossings? They wanted us to build 3 at $2 million apiece. We talked them down to 2. But what we've heard now is the Army Corps of Engineers is holding us up. DNR is saying they're okay as long as the Army Corps will go ahead and issue the permit. But we've heard through the bureaucracy and stuff that the DNR really doesn't want the Army Corps to issue us a permit. Now, I'll tell you this, I will challenge them as your chairman. When I take office, if they'll deliver me a bulldozer out there, I know how to drive one. I'll start to work on it. Let them sue us. Take a number. That road needs to be paved. It needs to be open. Because it's a safety factor in case of a hurricane.
Well, of course,
Or a fire.
Or a fire. Prime example. I will
And
work on
the
that.
Bears Cross on Carolina Forest Boulevard between Carolina Willows and Avalon, because that's where that swamp and
Yes, ma'am.
protected area is. And
Yes,
there's no bear tunnel there or bear crossing
I know.
or bear signs.
Move the sign down the road and tell the bear to cross down here, huh?
Hey, some of these bears are smart. There's one living down here in Garden City.
Yeah, hey.
It crosses them in
Where the food's at, yeah.
It's right behind Pacino's restaurant. That bear is hanging out in there.
But yes, ma'am, we're on it. We have pushed all the way as hard as we can push. But I will tell you this. General Vault researched and found out that the chairman of the county council could, put on his public safety hat and say, for the interest of the safety of the people on the beach, we're going to go ahead and pave it. Start our cruise now. If I can get council behind me, I'll try. I'll push their buttons.
Hey, I'll be
What
right
they gonna
back here
do?
with you, give me one too.
They're gonna sue us and it'll take 3 or 4 years, you know, down the road. We'll have it built by then, we'll have it paved all the way through, yeah. But it's time for us to stand up and challenge these federal bureaucracy organizations. Sorry, and so you got another question? Okay, so did that answer that for you?
It always gets pushed down because of those reasons, because it used to be like, what, number 5, it's almost on the bottom now.
No, so if it's in the same spot and stuff on ride 2,
Oh, they just pass it by.
right, so because they've been held up with their permits, so they have to continue and stuff to work on the other ones. And as soon as those permits come through, they're gonna get on it. But with me as chairman, I will try. And if I can get council to back me on it, we'll start the bulldozers and trucks rolling.
You say the problem was nobody was really advocating for it? Like the way you're advocating for it right now?
Probably not as strong as they should be. Right. They're scared and said they're going to offend the Army Corps or something, and then they're going to tie it up for years. We need to quit being afraid. Those are government employees. They work for us. They work for us. We don't work for them.
Al, what is the traffic that's going on back and forth in there? I know they've got like a item 4 or the white dust or whatever, and we've got trucks that are going in and out of there.
DNR had started to build them a road on the back side of that parallel to 31, and guess what? They didn't get no permits, and the county turned them into the Army Corps, and then the Army Corps said, you got to go in there and take that road up. So you see, so they mad at us. But that's okay. Okay? Anyone else? So I thank y'all so much again for your patience. Go to alallen.com. We got a website. We got a fan page. Like it, share it with your friends. We try to keep our updates on there at where we're going. There will be some candidate forums coming up to where all of us who are running are scheduled to be there. I'd love for y'all to come and support me and pray for me, because I welcome open debate from any of them. I love it. I'm a country boy. I love a good little scrap, you know, once in a while. Thank y'all so much.
Be sure to get that email contact sheet if anyone wants to write their emails down, and that way
Yes, ma'am.
Al Allen can get in touch with you.
Please sign up with Gmail.
We can make sure that everybody signs the sheet. We've got a campaign meeting with all the people on Monday, and then I'll be contacting you and getting everybody lined up for volunteer meetings, to get all the information disseminated out so we can get going in this area.
Very good.
Well,